Okay.
Do you have an opener?
No opener. Because this is the 2023, this is the ESA television extravaganza.
It's a different episode.
Yeah.
No mail today.
No mail.
Not because we didn't feel like doing it or there are too many things to write about. It's because it's a different episode.
This is very different. Very wild. Never been done. Yeah, we're going to talk about a couple of TV shows we've watched over, honestly, like the last 8 months.
Yeah. You know, Chris, I wouldn't even say a couple. I'd say a few.
Ooh. Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week. And what better way to kick off our small screen debut episode than with Final Destination.
Exactly.
So the other night we watched Final Destination.
Arguably the smallest movie to ever be put in a movie theater.
Final Destination, I think written and directed by James Wong and Glenn Morgan. I'm pretty sure they both just did both of those things. Because the story goes it was supposed to be an X-File. But then I don't know who, if it was one of them or someone else, was like looking over at their desk and was like, that looks like a feature.
Yeah, I meant to do more research on this, but then much like most of Final Destination, I forgot about it.
Yeah.
I think what happened was, that guy was writing it as an X-Files show episode. Someone went, you should make this a feature, and he did. And just by coincidence, the people from the X-Files ended up making this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like he showed it to them or the people from the X-Files were like, hey, we can make this a movie. Like, just whoever produced or directed this movie that was involved with the X-Files just so happened to make this as well.
Yeah, so anyways, this would have made a good X-Files episode.
Mm-hmm.
If you cut it down. It reminds me of, I mentioned it while we were watching it with our with friend of the show, Will Lorenz. It reminds me of season 4 of The Twilight Zone. They switched to a 45-minute format from like a 20-minute standard television kind of episode to, you know, like an hour-long thing. And yeah, just universally people are like, yeah, there's some good episodes, but the formula loses a little something. You know what I mean? Because
it's one of those things I hate to admit, but like when like constraints are put on a TV show.
Yeah.
I hate when I have to agree that like, it's better for it. You know?
It is, yeah. I mean, that's kind of my opinion of art in general, is that like the limitations are what makes you have to be creative. Otherwise, it's just unbridled, imagination, and that's fine. Also,
I love David Lynch movies.
Yeah, but like the constraint is where like you have to be a little clever.
Yeah.
How do we make this work? And so basically what happened was it's Twilight Zone works with like here's the premise, here's a couple of woes, and then we gave it a little flip. Now maybe you're thinking about your morals a little bit. Stretch that out extra 20 minutes, and eventually people are like, okay, all right, I get it. This guy does X, Y, or Z.
Do you think maybe that was like that situation was they had a bunch of episodes written and then decided to go to 45 minutes and then they had to stretch those out? Or do you think it was just
I think it was like the studio probably just coming in and be like, what about an hour, huh?
Yeah, and like they're like, let's take these 22-page scripts and turn them into 45-page scripts.
Or maybe it was even because I know my boy, Mr. Rod Serling, it could have even just him being like, I'm an artist, see, I like the stage, let's do something a little more movie-like. Because that's where I got to start, was writing plays and stuff, and whatever, this isn't Final Destination. First of all,
I'm sorry. Because we were going to watch
Skaters and Hackers.
We were going to watch Skaters and Hackers, and at the very last second I went, what about Final Destination?
Yeah.
And I talked you guys into watching Final Destination, and we did it, and for that, I truly apologize.
Forgiveness is earned. I'm kidding. Also, just the craziest cast of characters I've ever seen in my life.
Of a young Devon Sawa who can't speak.
Yeah, the only thing I know him from is he's the drug dealer who does too much acid in SLC Punk.
He's also in Dawson's Creek? I don't know. He's in one of those
shows. Is he really?
I don't know. One of those shows. Maybe. I could be wrong.
His best friend is an actor I only know from an episode of the X-Files where he's a guy who eats brains, but he's really trying not to. He's just like a 16-year-old kid that works at like a fast food place, and he's like trying to take like diet supplements to like suppress appetite, and he's trying to like watch like self-help videos on like you are not your hunger, and stuff like that. But he just like that's what he subsists on, like his human brains, like literally physically. That's what
He's a zombie boy.
Basically, like, yeah, he has like a wig and like eyebrows that he wears because, yeah, he's not human. He's not necessarily a zombie, but he's some kind of other.
Okay.
He's really trying to be a real boy.
He, to me, is the most interesting character in this movie.
Yeah. Why?
Because he has an accent.
Yeah.
That I dare you to pin down.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, there's not even like, there's hints of this or there's hints of that.
Yeah.
Like, this is like 1920s transatlantic.
Yeah.
But also, you've lived alone on an island for 35 years. Like,
you said 1920s, and that the first thing that came to mind was like, it's the 1920s, and you murdered someone in Europe, but you have to lay low in Kansas. So you're just trying to like do an American accent. And everybody's like, hey, buddy, this is Toronto. Why do you talk like this?
He's like Frankenstein's monster in a shed looking into a home for a year, watching a family and learning English that way. And
then everybody else I've not seen, except for like main character's dad, is also in an episode of the X-Files. And maybe there's another X-Files alum in there, but whatever.
The female lead in this, I can't remember the actress's name. I know her. I just don't know what from.
I thought I knew her too.
Like, I recognized her face, and then when I looked her up, I recognized the name as well. But I went through her IMDb, just nothing I recognize.
I thought she was like Lady Liberty or whatever the fuck from the live action Tick, but she's not. Too much of an age gap. But anyways,
do you have any experience with Final Destination? You ever seen any of these before?
No.
Like, not a second of any of them?
No.
That makes sense, because what these movies are known for, they just insane. Like, after this one, I'm pretty sure they just become fun instead of whatever this movie's trying to be.
Yeah.
But they're like gross out, cringe fun.
Yeah.
Like the deaths are insanely gory and insanely over the top.
Yeah.
And my experience with these movies are, I caught some of Final Destination 3 when I was a very young boy.
Yeah.
I don't know when Final Destination... I'm in elementary school when Final Destination 3 comes out, and I'm watching people's heads get cut in half, and just... I'd never seen anything like that before, and just being like, oh, God, yeah, I'm just a bag of meat, aren't I? Mm-hmm. And at any second, I could just be obliterated. Yeah. And that destroyed me as a kid. So when we were watching this, and Transatlantic guy is getting choked, and his, like, blood vessels bursted in his eyes. Brutal thing I've ever seen. And you went, oh, I didn't need to see that. I was like, oh, Chris. Chris, you have no idea what these movies are. I feel so bad.
Yeah.
But this movie was actually pretty tame. It was way more tame than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, so the idea of this is, which is like, the beginning is like classic X-Files cold open. You know, guys going on, a plane, he's all anxious or whatever. There are all these like weird little hints. Like, there's a point where he's taking a dump with his friend. Not the only dump that gets taken in this movie, by the way. And he hears a song by John Denver, and he goes like, John Denver died in a plane. Like, that's one of the clues that he has, that like the plane he's about to get on is going to crash.
Yeah, and one of the other clues is the flight number or departure time or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a time he woke up in the morning.
No, it's like 9:25, and his birthday is September 25th.
Yeah.
And the French lady goes, oh, coincidence, just like a birthday.
Yeah.
I got IMDb goof for you.
Huh.
In France, it would be 25/9.
Whoa, yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, so basically they get on the plane, and then he just goes like Daffy Duck, like nuts. Just, this plane's gonna blast!
Yeah. His beak spins all the way around his head. It's insane.
Yeah.
He has a dream of the plane exploding.
Yeah. So he flips his lid, blows his top.
And it's great, because this is what feels like hours before 9/11 happened. So it's insane to see this movie where a plane just explodes with everybody inside of it. It's
so the most random cast of characters like exit the plane. You've got like Neil Patrick Harris. No, what's his name?
Oh, Sean William Scott.
Sean William Scott.
Chris, that brings up an interesting point.
Yeah.
What happened to Sean William Scott?
I think Cop Out. I think he was in Cop Out with Kevin Smith.
Was he a lead in Cop Out?
He was like the third guy. Like, if you had like,
it's Tracy Morgan, Bruce Willis,
and
Sean William Scott.
Yeah.
And it
he plays
destroyed just Sean William Scott's career, not Tracy Morgan or Bruce Willis. He's not the lead in it.
Someone's got to be the fall guy.
I think it was Kevin Smith, if I'm being honest.
Oh, it definitely fucked up Kevin Smith, too. But what else has he been in since Cop Out? I can't think of a movie I've seen Sean William Scott in since Cop Out.
I saw him in Goon, which I want to say was after that.
Oh, yeah, that was. It was like 2014, I think. 2012, maybe,
and then
somewhere in that range.
Gone.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, I like Sean William Scott quite a bit. I like him in everything I see him in. Yeah. And I feel like he's one of those guys, if he popped up, he could be a whale. He could be a Brendan Fraser. Yeah. I could definitely see him in the next couple of years busting out an incredible dramatic performance and everyone be like, we love Sean William Scott again.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that, like, I think we talked about when we were talking about, like, Without a Paddle, where, like, I don't think he's a good actor, but there's, like, I don't know, I like Dak Shepard. Not as a guy.
He's very charismatic.
But, in a movie, I'm always like, I
just like this guy.
I like this guy. Yeah. Same thing with, like, Seth Green. I don't think he's necessarily that good or even like really that funny, but for some reason in a movie I'm usually like, okay.
You know what I think it is with both of those guys, Dak Shepard and Seth Green?
Huh?
I think very specifically with that Without a Paddle, they very much so just they sit their butts down in like a sled. In like a, the Iditarod, like a dog sled.
Sure. Okay.
And then they go, yeah, and they like do the whip thing, and it gets Matthew Lillard's back, and he just carries that through the entire movie.
Very funny. I'm also thinking of like Austin Powers though, when he's like, I have a gun in my room. What if I just got yeah. Or like when he's talking about his day to his dad, he's like, yeah, we were at the mall, and then like yada yada, we got kicked out or whatever, so we came back to my house, we watched some pornos or whatever, and just like, God, Dr. Evil being like. Well, real quick, when Dr. fucking Evil is just like, right, and that's a good day to you, is it? And he's like, yeah, it was pretty good or whatever, and he starts reaching for the button. So good. I love those two. I want to watch the second one, hoping that there's more of them interacting.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Yeah. But anyways, so back to Final Destination, because I don't know what kind of... Yeah, there's like a jock guy and his girlfriend, and then like the teacher's there.
He's a real cool jock, which really surprised me.
Yeah, and then there's like the weird girl who welds... And then our main two characters. I think that's our main, like, 6 or 7 or however many numbers that is. Whatever. Playing Go Boom. And then, like... Yeah, obviously, we're not going to be able to go scene by scene. I don't remember a lot of this movie. It's not a good movie. I don't like this movie. I'll never see this movie again, probably.
Yeah, I'll probably never see this again. I didn't hate it. I had fun watching it.
Yeah.
Which I think is better than a movie that bored me. So.
Yeah. So, basically...
Goddamn, Robot Chicken is still on. Sorry, go on.
They they cheated death in the sense that they survived, but death is like I play for keeps or whatever. Yeah. So now I'm gonna come after you guys in the order that you should have died in, which is something that the main character figures out.
I was gonna say, how does he know this, Chris?
The most, like, because I was describing this to my partner, and that was her exact question. And I was like, because he's watching the news, and they show
That's not what I meant, but go on.
They show a graphic of the plane with all the seats, and they're like, evidently what happened was that there was a loose valve, and so the explosion pipeline blew up specifically in this direct order.
And he pulls out a piece of paper and puts it on his TV.
Yeah. And he traces the explosion line. My thing is that, like, I'm not a scientist. I know nothing, actually. I could be one of the dumbest people who's ever lived. Explosion pretty simultaneous in an instant.
It's pretty much just like how we can perceive time, it's pretty much an all-at-once thing.
Yeah.
Things just aren't exploded and then are exploded.
Yeah.
They don't really gradually happen.
No. Yeah. So I
when you read somewhere that and suddenly it exploded. It's like you can just say exploded. If something gradually explodes, then let me know. But
because I'm gonna say I'm not trying to be a nitpicky asshole, but like I literally it makes my brain hurt that scene because I'm like, wait, what? The explosion slowly killed each of these people in an order.
And also, we saw his premonition. No, it did not. It blew up half the plane, and then a bunch of people kept getting sucked out of it.
Yeah. We saw the kaboom.
But no, what I was getting at was transatlantic friend dies.
Yeah.
And he goes, gotta see that body. And welding girl goes, yeah, you're right, we gotta see that body. Let's break into the morgue. And they break into the morgue, and Candyman goes, hey, here's what's going on, because I work at a morgue, so I know how this works.
I forgot Tony Todd is in this thing. Another X-Files 11.
All of them.
I want to see Candyman so bad.
You haven't seen Candyman?
Never seen the original Candyman, no. Have you?
No, I really liked you though.
That's so interesting that you said it like that, though. Like you said it with like the gusto of someone who's seen Candyman and loves it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was gonna try to pretend, but then I was like, no, why am I doing this? I immediately was like, I don't want to live this lie.
Yeah, but yeah, Tony Todd, he just does he puts his whole Tony Tabusi in it, or whatever.
Like to cut
Nobody's
that.
doing that bit anymore.
Yeah, and I hate that because I love it. It's such it's like Final Destination. It happens and I go, ugh, I like that.
Yeah. He just goes, when there's no room left. Nope, we should cut that. That's another famous black man line. That might be a little racial.
Okay, yeah. One thing I do know about Candyman,
yes,
is he loves bees. He's covered in bees constantly.
Absolutely.
And I think Tony Todd, that's his name, yeah?
Yeah.
It was in his contract. He got paid an extra $1,000 for every time he got stung by a bee on that movie.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I believe the final girl in that movie, I can't remember the actress's name.
Never seen it, so I don't know it either.
Deathly allergic to bees.
Yeah.
There were real bees in that movie all over the place. So they had to basically sedate her for the scenes where bees were crawling all over her because she was so scared.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was like an 80s version of like a Judy Garland 1920s, like, here, dame, take all these pills and get through this picture.
You're saying Tony Todd is in all of these?
Most of them, yeah.
Most of them. Interesting. Whatever. Okay, so what happens next? The guy trips and falls in the shower and he gets strangled. Oh, wait, no. That's why we're there, because Tony Todd, he's looking at... Whatever. They think main character is like some kind of terrorist, but then they're like, nah, he good. But then his friend died, and they're like, oh, maybe there is something going on here. Then there's like a whole stretch of the movie where he's trying to explain to other people what's going on, but he sounds like a maniac. And also, there's the point where his teacher dies, but he's going over there to save her, but the FBI intercepts him and takes him to the room, and he says, like, hey, if you don't let me out, more people are going to die or whatever. They're like, okay, then go ahead and go. And then he goes there, and he's there right as she dies, but then he gets out, but he does the classic, like, North by Northwest thing where, like, he grabs the knife, and then might as well a photographer snap a picture of him, holding it, and because then he goes outside and
he runs out of the burning house with a knife in his hand, and Sean William Scott sees him. It's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. And then I don't know, he gets like the whole band back together, and they're like in a car, and the jock's like, nah, I'm in control of my life. And then he wants to sit on a train track because there's a train coming.
No, he like runs off into the woods, Devon Sawa, for some reason, because he's like, I need to be alone. And then the rest of the friends are like, actually, we think he's right, so we got to go find him. And then they find him immediately, and then bully friend is like, well, if nothing matters, then I'm gonna fucking drive real fast. And everyone's like, no. And he's like, I'm gonna sit on the train tracks. And then you go.
But then he's got like, he's like, oh shit, no, I could actually die though. But then he goes to like unbutton his seatbelt or whatever. And he's like, oh my god, because Death's like, doing his thing. And he's like, start the car, but it won't start because Death's doing his thing. But then main character pulls him out of there. And then there's this whole thing where like his girlfriend, not girlfriend, I'm talking about the main character's girlfriend, not girlfriend. She like goes outside and like there's a dog and she's trying to save the dog from barking at something. And the pool breaks, but then also so does like an electrical wire. And it's like, oh, I'm going to touch the water. And she's like, no, I'm going to jump onto the house. And then she gets into the house.
That scene's arguably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Just the visualization of that electrical wire whipping around and shooting out all that
electricity
around a pool, and the dog just sitting there barking at it. It's so funny. We also missed Sean William Scott gets his head cut in half.
At the train track, yes.
And the girlfriend of Bully Man who gets hit by the bus. Yeah. Which I liked.
And the cop's just like, you just happened to be there when all this happened?
I like that this movie, like, every death is like a Rube Goldberg machine that you watch happen very slowly, and while it's happening, you're like, ooh, is this going to be it? No. Is this going to be it? Is this going to be it? And then eventually it happens. And I really like, before that girl gets hit by a bus, they're having a conversation, and there's just a crane in the background. And the entire time is like, that's so strange. There's that crane is just weirdly in frame the entire time. You're like, that crane's gonna drop something on somebody, and it doesn't. I like that. This movie's not all bad. So yeah, electricity's whipping around. She's trying to climb up into her house while electricity's trying to whip her.
I do like when she's running to the house and like just the
that shot looked great.
Pop, 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 pop. Whatever.
When she's like running out and like gradually the things in the house.
Yeah.
Gradually things are exploding.
Gradually. She's in her car. We're just gonna fast forward a little bit. There's electricity outside. Her boyfriend comes along. And he's like,
I'd like to real quick before we get to there. At some point, he's running through the woods. A tree falls on him, and he almost drowns in a puddle. Very funny.
Yeah, because he won't turn his head to either side. But yeah, ridiculous, nuts. So he's like, don't worry, babe, I'll touch the electricity. He does, but he lives. And then, I don't know, some other stuff happens. They do the Dark Knight ending. They do the Dark Knight Rises ending.
Yeah.
Where they're just having French coffee at a French cafe.
Yeah, they show up in Paris and everybody's hair is a different color because they're like, hey, we're here, obviously, just because we wanted to be, not because we had to shoot a different ending because the original one is bad, I guess.
Yeah, and it's Jock Boy, main guy, girlfriend. And they are drinking coffee, just being like, ha ha ha, life good. And then main character's like, no, hear me out, I'm still insane. And they're like, we don't want to hear this. And then he's like, no, just real quick. So you jump the line, or maybe it's the jock guy who's like talking about the whole jumping the line thing.
No, it's Devin Sawa still, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. And then I think the jock guy says then like, oh, you should still die then. He's like, all right, I'm going to walk home alone. His girlfriend's like, no, I'm going to come with you. Whatever. Then like some kind of billboard falls over.
His spider senses start going off.
Yeah, and like, so the jock guy pushes him out of the way, but then the jock guy dies or whatever. And then credits. I don't know, whatever. That's the whole movie, basically.
Yeah, I don't get the end.
Yeah.
Where I don't get how they go from him getting electrocuted to them being like, oh, I guess we're fine.
Oh, I totally forgot about that whole time where he's like made his little cabin like a baby place for babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
3 seconds, and then he abandons that.
They abandon that.
Is that going to be like the rest of his life? See, that's the big thing also with this movie. Is like, I'm not trying to like, again, nitpick or whatever, but like, okay, so you jump the line or whatever, but someone saves you, but then you just go back into line.
Yeah.
So like,
it doesn't. I think the rule that they're kind of setting up or trying to set up is, it has to go in that order. But if Devin Sawa dies, it's done. It's over.
Okay.
And so he gets electrocuted, and so he plays possum, and Death is like, okay, I'll see you guys. And then I guess when they're in Paris, Death goes, wait a second. But
okay,
maybe not.
Yeah, I'm feeling like a light to decent F on this.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say D minus, but I was like, nah, I gotta give it an F.
I'm gonna give it a D plus because there is some stuff I liked in it. I had fun. I do really appreciate that there's not a romantic subplot between him and the girl that we're calling his girlfriend at all during the whole movie. Yeah. But at the end, when he gets electrocuted, she goes, wake up, come on, baby, wake up. And all three of us went, baby.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. D plus F. Let's start in order of how much we're probably gonna have to say about each of these things. First TV show on the docket. Just the other day, I finally watched the last 2 episodes of Neon Genesis Evangelion. We talked about it a couple times on the show. About the show as a whole or about the ending? What do you want to know?
Give me your show as a whole.
As a whole?
I watched it all 1 year ago. I don't remember a lot of it, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's fine. It's one of few animes that I like. I'm not. It's just like a genre that I haven't really.
Yeah, same.
I'm really trying because I don't like to do that kind of a thing with anything. I don't like to just be like, nah, death metal is just not for me. Or like, rap is crap.
Same.
But fuck, does anime make it so fucking hard to like. God damn it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, and I'm really not trying to throw shade, but fuck you with we're all vampires who are on a swim team at an all-boys school. Oh, that one's a girl? You know what I mean? Like, I just can't.
I mean...
I can't.
I guess people are racist sometimes, yeah.
What do you mean? Me?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
It's because it's specifically a very Japanese thing.
What to go? Or
no, anime in general. So it's very easy to be like, if you don't like anime, you're a racist.
It is very easy. That's the big fear. But there's just so much of it that's like that. That like I'm like, oh my god.
But hey, Chris.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I haven't seen a lot of anime.
Yeah. But I'm never gonna do Naruto. It's not gonna happen.
Well, yeah. If someone told me, "Hey, this anime is about a bunch of vampires who are on a swim team," I'm probably gonna watch that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you just had a great idea.
Thank you.
I've seen this, and I watched a season of One Punch Man, and
I couldn't do One Punch Man.
I watched 5 episodes of Chainsaw Man because I read the books. Which is the only manga I've ever read. A coworker of mine was like, I think you'd really like this, and I did. I really enjoyed the manga, and the show was good. I enjoyed it, and I was like, oh, seeing this book in action, because it's pretty much page for page the same thing. I was like, it's really cool. But then, like, every episode came out once a week, and at some point I was like, hey, I gotta go. I have to watch. And here's another big thing about anime for me: you gotta watch it with the subtitles usually, which means you can't do anything else. You have to sit down and watch it, and that's a big barrier for me to cross for specifically a TV show.
Yeah.
So with Chainsaw Man, I was like, I know what happens. I'll get to it when I get to it.
And I gotta be honest, people are gonna hate this. I love that the one time that like the option is available to me to have something dubbed is anime.
Yeah.
I like foreign film. We watch foreign film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also don't want to be staring at the fucking subtitle. Like, why is that such a crime to just be like, hey, I want to look at the fucking movie, the thing that people put their time and effort into. I want to look at that, not the words underneath the people.
Yeah, that is tough when you're reading subtitles to fully appreciate both.
100%. Like, and why is that such a frowned upon thing? People are always like, oh, you got to do with this. Then I'm missing the rest of the motherfucker.
Because
it's not like a comic where I can read it and then I can look at the picture. I have to pick one or the other.
Because I think what it is the performance you're getting from the original actors gets muddied by it's what you're saying with the movie, but with their performance, it's getting covered up by some other guy.
Yeah. Sorry, bro.
And I watched Neon Genesis, the TV show, and watched the dub version, and then they made a bunch of movies. Yeah. And the first movie is a retelling of the show, just condensed to 2 hours. And the dub has different voice actors who have very different approaches to it. Yeah. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't watch this. Everybody's just wrong. Yeah. So that I understand that helped me understand the dub versus sub argument more. Yeah. But also, if you want to watch a dub, I don't care. Yeah, go for it. I would never be like, you're not getting the full experience. Do whatever you want if you want it.
Because that's the biggest thing is like I get it. They're putting on a great performance, but at the end of the day, I don't speak that language. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you can feel it, you know.
Yeah,
remember old boy? Remember that guy's pleading at the Deso is pleading at the end, and he's cutting out his tongue and stuff like that. Oh, you feel that, buddy. You feel that coming out of that man.
But anyways, so as far as anime goes, there's been a couple. You know, like
you love books. I don't get it. Sorry, go on.
Because there's a big difference between a book and a movie.
No, I'm kidding.
But whatever. I just don't think it should be such a crime. I think it's, because people take it to a place where they're like, oh, you dummy, you don't want to read, and it's like, as a guy who reads often, no, that's why I'm watching a movie.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Yeah.
People who do that with shows that are in English. Yeah. Fuck you into their brains. Like when people are like, "Oh, you don't like subtitles because you can't read that fast, baby." It's okay. Yeah. Well, I'll forgive you.
I want to look at the image. People put a lot of time.
Bro, it's that I read too fast. Yeah. If a subtitle pops up at the bottom and it says
"I killed Lawyer Palmer," I'm like, "Oh man."
Or it says like I was bang. Yeah. And then someone gets shot. I'm like, well, I knew they got shot a couple seconds before they did, and it's really upsetting.
Whatever. So basically, Neon Genesis. I think it's a safe bet to say that so far the anime that I can get into is anything from like the 80s or 90s. I don't know why it was just 100%. More like restrained with its like. Again, I'm not trying to throw shade, but like the last like 20-ish years of my exposure to any kind of anime over the last 20-ish years is like. It just has the vibe of the kid in school who liked anime when it wasn't cool. You know what I'm saying?
I get that.
I'm not trying to be a dick, but it has that thing.
I get that. Yeah, and I think because I feel the same way. Yeah. But I think it has to be us associating.
I think it's a cultural thing, like just how things change, right? Like a culture's sense of humor, right? Like there's a stark difference between like humor from the 90s and then like the next generation, like Gen X versus like, Gen Z.
I think it's. Yeah, it's the same way movies from the 90s or the 80s have a specific feel. Yeah. And anime from the 80s or the 90s has a different feel from a movie from the 80s or the 90s. Mm-hmm. And I think it's an aesthetic thing. Mm-hmm. And I think, I'm going to speak for both of us here, an anime from the 80s or 90s reminds me of Toonami. It reminds me of me staying up a little bit too late and catching some Dragon Ball Z, and just the aesthetic of that I just love. I think there's nothing cooler than an anime from the 90s. Yeah. And that's what I love so much about this show is I tell people this all the time. It is your review of it from back in the day when you started watching it.
Yeah.
It's just vibes.
Yeah.
I just love being in it. I just love looking at this show.
Yeah. Like, just to give you an example, in the show, Rei Ayanami, what's the teacher's name that the main character lives with?
She's my favorite.
Akari.
I can't
Shinji Akari. I always, this is so racist. Sasuke is the only name that comes to my mind when I think of anime. What's her fucking name?
Yeah, that's the toughest thing about, like, I've been reading some manga because my coworker keeps giving me books to borrow, and I enjoy it, but I've been playing the Yakuza games a lot.
Miss Miyata? Or something
I
like that?
can't
Miyata.
remember anybody's name, and I feel so bad, and like I sheepishly, what's the word I'm trying to say, Chris?
Sheepishly?
Yes, sheepishly admitted to somebody I know who likes a lot of anime. I'm like, I just can't remember anybody's name, and they're like, oh no, absolutely, that's absolutely a problem for everybody. Are you looking it up?
Miss Masato.
Yes, she's great. She's my favorite. She's my favorite character.
She has like a pet penguin.
Great.
Yeah, it's dumb, but
Love it.
it's not like I feel like anytime I like peek over my brother's shoulder of like watching any kind of like anime over the last like 20 years, it's like, ho ho ho, she has a penguin on her left shoulder instead of her right. She is different than all of us. Ho ho ho. Like, it's just like a, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like a little bit more like, it's like comedy from that generation over here in the States, like kind of that iCarly LOL random thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and it's
think
just a little too like intense for me. I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where I think if anything has a hard time crossing cultural boundaries, it's probably comedy. Comedy is a little.
I could see that.
You know what I'm saying?
But I'm just thinking of this right now.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the most pretentious, out of my ass statement I've ever made? You know what I think it might be?
Huh.
A lot of normies like anime now.
Okay.
I think back in the day, like the 90s anime and like Neon Genesis, and the ones you know about are because they're the best of the best.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of bad stuff.
Everybody watches anime.
Yeah.
And like I've had friends...
Saturated market too.
Yeah, I've had friends be like, oh, I'm really into this anime, and like put it on.
Yeah.
Like just a random episode or whatever, and like I'll sit down and watch it. I'm like, objectively, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. Yeah. It has nothing to do with it being an anime.
Yeah.
This is just like a hot topic kid idea of something that's cool. Yeah. And the person I'm watching this with is 25. Yeah. And just stuff like that. Yeah. Like and I just like, I don't want to name any animes if you watch them. Not you specifically.
Sure, yeah, but it's also just like I watch plenty of bad shows too.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And and more power to you. Yeah. But
it's just not for me. That's all I'm trying to say.
And like I said, what I'm saying, I could be 100% wrong. Yeah. I'm just thinking of this right now, and I'm going to die on this hill.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, that's one of the things is like, you know, so far my experience has been exactly what you're talking about, where it's just like I keep going to like the Godfather of anime.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like I've seen Akira.
Love it.
And now I've seen Neon Genesis. You know, I've seen like Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, End of List maybe. I think that was End of List.
Oh, same. Yeah. Those are. I haven't seen My Neighbor Totoro. I think I've seen less anime than you, which is strange.
The next couple that I want to see is like Perfect Blue and Paprika. Those are the two.
Yeah, same. Those are on my list as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should do that. We should do that soon, especially for this show. Especially since we're having this big conversation of our hot takes on anime and admitting to having seen little to no anime.
But there's just so much around. You know, I mean, I've seen.
We've seen arguably, like you said, we've seen Godfather and Citizen Kane. Yeah. And that's it. And
we're just going like, what is this Blade Runner?
They don't make movies like they used to anymore.
But no, it's just one of those things where like I've seen enough little bits of Naruto to know that like, bruh, kill me with a hammer. I don't want to watch that.
I loved Naruto in like elementary school. Yeah. Arguably, I still think some of it beats ass. Okay. But it's one of those things where it's been going on for so long that if I see like, hell, Naruto might not even be on anymore. I don't know. But if I see a newer Naruto, I'm like, this just doesn't resemble what I remember, but also probably if I went back and watched the Naruto I watched as a kid, it would be different because I have nostalgia glasses on for what I remember of it. But long story short, in the 5th grade, I ran around with a Naruto headband on.
Yeah.
Go on.
I was just gonna say, but I also I still like when people are into it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I love
like
when
the
somebody
headbands.
likes something.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I would never. Ever
Oh yeah,
let
me clarify. I love people that are into anime.
Yeah,
That's so cool. It's like the Gathering of the Juggalos. I'm not gonna listen to an ICP album, but I want to go.
Yeah, I would never try to. None of this is me trying to be like I'm
not
better
trying to
than
dunk on
people.
anybody. Oh, absolutely
I'm
not.
better than the normies who watch bad anime.
Yeah.
I would never try to convince somebody or tell or think I'm better than somebody who genuinely likes something.
Yeah.
More power to you. I'm trying to think of a bad thing that I really enjoy. I enjoyed Final Destination.
Yeah.
So more power to you.
Yeah.
What'd you think about the last episode of the show?
Last two, they do the same thing where it's just the animation is not animation. It's just rough sketches, literally colored in marker, actual
Yeah, I really like
marker.
because the last 2 episodes are this weird dream sequence kind of thing out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and I was really getting transfixed by it, like an abstracty Lynchian kind of oh man, I'm just feeling this.
Yeah,
and then I don't know, maybe about halfway through it, I was like, huh, maybe. I wonder if they ran out of money.
Yeah.
I wonder if they ran out of money. And I talked to my coworker who's giving me all the books.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. That is what happened. And he was telling me about another show the creator of this show did. He's like, the last couple episodes of that show are in black and white because they ran out of money.
Yeah. Which is way cool.
Yeah, that's the sickest shit I've ever heard of.
So, yeah, top down, I think you mentioned it, my review or whatever. It's just such vibes. So aesthetic. Everything's beautiful about this show. Every frame of painting kind of a thing where, it just checks all the boxes. It's one of the exceptions in anime where I don't like everything. I'm I think the mechs look cool. Mm-hmm. I think all the characters have an interesting design to them and look good. It's a coming-of-age story. It's a kind of about a kid being an outsider, and it's such a weird thing where for a long time you're kind of I feel like
shit.
What?
Did you watch the movie?
No.
The end of Evangelion?
No.
Then you didn't finish it.
Why?
Because there's the TV show that ends with those 2 episodes where they run out of money.
Yeah.
And then the show was such a big hit, they got to the money to finish it. So there's more. There's you can consider it an hour and a half special. That is the last episode.
I don't know if I'm gonna do it.
You shouldn't, because I liked it. It beats ass. It's cool.
Yeah.
But the elephant in the room with this show is the insane over-sexualization of all these characters who are very specifically 14.
Yeah.
In the show, I didn't have a huge problem with it because Shinji is a horny 14-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And that's on his mind constantly, along with all of his other struggles. And I'm like, I get that. It's kind of played for comedy. I believe the first scene in this movie is girl in red jumpsuit.
Yes.
Gets hurt really bad in the last episode, I believe.
Yeah.
She's in the hospital. And he goes to her hospital room and goes, oh, God, wake up. And he's shaking her, and because she's laying on her side unconscious.
Yeah.
And she flops over onto her back.
There's a boob out.
And both boobs out. A hospital gown opens and you see this teenager's boobs. And I'm like, ugh, this makes me uncomfortable. And Shinji stands there and goes, and then it cuts away to different objects in the room while you hear him moaning.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to him and his hand is full of his own spunk.
Yeah.
Because he just stood there and jerked off. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I hate this guy now.
Yeah.
This guy that from what I remember of the show, I'm like, this kid's fun.
Yeah.
I get that he's struggling with whatever, and my dad sucks, and I have crushes on 3 girls at once, and then this happened. I'm like, oh, this little pervert's a monster.
Yeah. Does this movie does it offer an actual what could be considered more of a conclusion?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. Yeah, it's a conclusion to the 2 seasons of TV you just watched.
I thought I got a pretty good conclusion out of the show as it stood, but okay.
It's more solid and pretty sick animation happens in it, not gonna lie.
Well, tack this on the list of things that need to be, I guess. Is it gonna have the same voice actors?
Yes.
Okay.
It's on Netflix as well.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's a spoiler.
But you're all adults listening to this, whatever. Shit gets spoiled.
No, you're not listening. Well, I haven't explained properly. My bad. Ted Lasso and Barry, I technically haven't finished either, so this will all make sense when part 2 happens. I'll go ahead and concede to that, because that was kind of my hill I was going to die on. I was like, I know they made like 11 movies after this. I'm not going to touch any of them.
Yeah, no, this movie I'm talking about happened almost immediately afterwards.
Okay.
The other like 5 movies that exist happened 10, 15 years later.
Okay, so anyways, from what I've seen though of Neon Genesis so far, it's one of those things where like what I was trying to talk about before we went on the little tangent is like you walk this tightrope between like, it's this like mech thing where these angels keep falling to the ground and he has to fight these angels, and then that happens for like 14 seconds and then you get back to all this like, Saved by the Bell basically, like but at the same time it keeps shifting almost, like any dramedy, between like these like long contemplative shots where like you're not really ruminating on anything but kind of all of the show, and then some kind of silly stuff, whatever, and then you get those last 2 episodes, which in my opinion like really drove home like the the biggest thing, which is just like this is a 13-year-old boy, and he just got some shit to figure out, and I really like that it ends in a place where it seems like he's realized basically like, hey, I'm, in a sense, whatever I'm choosing certain things about myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I think I'm awkward and I can't get close to people, then I'm awkward and I can't get close to people. But if I just kind of open up a little bit and let my guard down, then I could probably get close to people.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, watched it a year ago. All I remember is robots are cool.
And, there's all that stuff where just for 2 episodes long, he's being berated about how he's like, I have self-worth because I get into the mech suit. People are happy when I get into the mech suit and I kill the angel or whatever. And everybody just saying like, what?
It's like Barry.
Yeah, it is. And everybody being like, hey, you can be more than just that. Like you should find self-worth in you and not what you do. And I thought that breaking it down, because he ran out of money, I thought breaking it down really, really added a little something to it. Overall, it was good. It was a good show. I'm going to give it a nice A+.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
I'm not going to grade it because, like I said, haven't seen it in a while. I can't objectively do that. I started watching it with the full intent to watch the newer movies.
Yeah.
Because, what was it, like, whenever the last one came out, like 2020, 2022, something like that, Cinefix put it on their list of top 10 movies of the year.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, goddamn, okay. I was like, that's, for this film channel to put this anime film on their top 10 of the year, that's pretty, I might check this out. And I just didn't get that far. It's been 12 whole months.
You think it's just not going to happen ever?
It might one day, but it's just a lot.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I don't like the new voice actors of the new movies, so I have to watch the subtitled versions, and I can't do anything else while I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So,
moving on, Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ted Lasso. Watched this directly after a breakup. That was something my dad even mentioned, as being like, perfect timing. Because the first fucking episode ends with him on the phone with his wife talking about like, I know you said you need his face. I know, I get it. And that's what I'm giving you. And I was just sitting there like,
oh my god. So I was like, this show's fine. I like it. I like it fine enough. But at the end of that episode where he goes, hey, I love you.
Yeah.
Oh no, you don't have to say it back. It's fine. I was like, I'm gonna like this show.
Yeah. So yeah.
I can't sleep.
I think we've mentioned it before on the podcast. Specifically like the thing where it's like from the rip, and every time that I ease back into it, like every time that I'm like, I'm gonna watch a couple more episodes, or like, there's a new season out, I feel like my gut reaction immediately is like, cringe. And then I go like, okay, so like maybe I'm cringe for cringing at people just being nice. What's wrong with me? But I think also objectively, it's a little. But at the same time, it is also, like I said, maybe I shouldn't look at people being happy and just go, ugh. There's a really interesting thing also that happens in this show. I think we may have mentioned this as well in the podcast before, where people legitimately actually change. They actually confront the worst thing about themselves and then move
for better
forward.
Or worse, yeah.
And there's legitimately kind of consequences. And when I say that kind of a thing, like I think the first thing that kind of comes to mind is like, like something like Dexter, like he murders somebody, so he's got to go to jail. Not like that. It's just like how someone behaves to another character later on needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Or changes the way that they interact with each other, or sometimes means that their characters no longer interact with each other. And every now and again, there's just some really, poignant shit that just gets you right in the motherfucking, right in the motherfucking heart. Interested to see what season 3 has coming because, again, not in like a dickish way. It was kind of fun, but I think it was a little over the top with like, what's his name, going like Darth Vader, like falling like Anakin into becoming like cartoonishly villainish.
Yeah, spoilers for you for season 3 of Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
So far, there've been a moment or two where they address it.
Yeah.
And everybody interacts.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it has been Nathan by himself.
Yeah.
Doing his own same Nathan shit.
Yeah.
Just disconnected from everybody else, and it kind of feels like him being a bad guy with white hair on the evil team's team kind of doesn't really fucking matter.
Okay.
Of course, it's not over. I'm halfway through it.
Yeah.
We're halfway through it, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or 7/10 of the way through it.
Yeah.
70%, some people would say.
Yeah.
And I think, hot take, it's got the Twilight Zone problem. Season 3, every episode's an hour long.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to do another hot take. Why is that a good thing always in people's mind? Why is more length on a TV show a good thing? It's breaking out of being TV. The format of TV. You know what I'm saying? It's not really like the hour thing.
Yeah, I've got no problem with a TV show being an hour.
No, if you're from the gate, if you're an hour, because
exactly.
that's what you do. Like, I don't know why, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where, like, it's interesting and it does go well sometimes, but I don't know. I just feel like the initial reaction is always like, oh shit, this season everyone's going to be an hour. And I'm like, yeah, that usually doesn't go great.
Mm-hmm.
Because you figure out your pacing for like whatever time you're allowed it, and then suddenly you have twice that, and you haven't been sustaining that. It's almost like how they say, like, I guess my exhibit A is like how, like, you always hear this thing about how, like, making a good short film doesn't mean you can do a feature.
Mm-hmm.
You ever heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways.
I like Ted Lasso quite a bit.
Yeah.
I like it. Shoot me more than you probably.
Okay.
Because it never makes me cringe.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, this is just so wholesome.
Yeah.
I will say though, I don't think it has ever been as good as that first season.
Yes, I would agree. Watching season 2, I was like, there's still like some really good moments here, but I think that first one was so like tight and succinct and exactly what the world needed at the time.
Yeah. And I think I love everybody in the show.
Yeah.
And I love everybody's story and everybody's journey. And like you said, everybody changes and things get resolved, and it's great, and I love it. But as the show goes on, they kind of move more and more away from Ted.
Yeah.
And if I'm being perfectly honest, the shining star of this show
is Ted.
Is Jason Sudeikis as Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
He is just so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, that whole first season is just so full of just like him just saying things that like arguably aren't jokes that would just make me laugh out loud.
Oh yeah.
Like fuck, I can't even remember the full line is, but I think of all the time just like the timeless wit and wisdom of Calvin and Hobbes, like just shit like that. I just love, and that's, I'm a white dude with a mustache, so everything he says pings with me. Like, I just get it. I'm like, you get me, brother.
Yeah. I don't think so much about those things. I don't think so much about him being like the golden, saxophone-esque vocal chords that are on that beautiful woman Beyonce. I don't really think about that much, but I do think about like just like little moments where he's like the Wrinkle in Time book that he gives to Roy.
Yeah.
When he's like, am I supposed to be the little girl? And he's like,
I'd like you to be.
I'd like you to be.
Yeah.
That's very funny but sweet. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of moments like that.
And
a lot of great moments like that.
The things I always come back to, like when I think of like great pivotal things from that show, are unfortunately just from the first season. But I always think of the episode Tan Lines, where the team gets their asses beat. He's in the middle of getting a divorce with his wife, and they come into the locker room at halftime, and he gives them that speech where he talks about his teacher with a low-cut shirt. That was the first time he saw tan lines as a kid. And he gives them the big speech that is also him talking through his divorce with his wife and having to let her go. And then the end of that episode is him talking to his wife because she's in England now. And it's like, oh, fuck, this is tough, but this is really good. This is like you said, it's just like, oh, wow, this is somebody on a TV show resolving an issue. Yeah. And that's insane. And the second thing that always gets me is the episode where the episode ends with Roy with everybody in the locker room, and the credits start rolling, which doesn't happen on any episode. Like, the credits roll over a black screen. Yeah. When this one episode, the credits roll over everybody in the locker room, and it's very strange, and it goes on and on and on, and everybody files out of the locker room except for Roy. Yeah. And then when the credits end, he gets untying his shoes, and he gets up, and he walks past it, and he taps the belief sign, and then he leaves like, oh, so good.
Yeah. Two things. One, another shout out to season 1. Another one of my favorite, because you're right, most of the pivotal just wow moments in it are from season 1, because I do think season 1 is the strongest. Is little rock star boy. What's his name again?
Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie. Oh, I really do love the bit where it's like Jamie. Yeah, very funny.
I will say, him out of anybody, I love him the most as the show goes on. I think he gets exponentially better.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody in the show gets worse. Yeah. But a lot of characters just maintain. Yeah. And I think
or get boring a little bit.
I think he's the only person that just skyrockets.
Yeah. But there's that episode. It's the one where they like have to like burn shit as like a sacrifice or whatever. Where he's talking about like, you know, all his mom ever wanted was for him to be like a good boy or whatever, and his dad wanted him to be like really good at soccer or to like fuck a lot of girls or whatever it is. And he was like, and you know, for the longest time, like I only ever wanted to like make my mom proud, but lately I think I've been making the wrong guy proud. Yeah, kind of thing. Whatever. Yeah, such a great moment.
Love, absolute shout out to Brett Goldstein, Roy Kent. Love that guy. Yeah, he's so good in this show. Love his podcast. His stand-up is great. I've seen some of it on YouTube. Yeah. And the ones I've seen are very, like, movie-centric. Like, he does movie stand-up. Yeah. It's really good. And I know we've had this conversation. You'll never watch it because you're like, I don't want to see Roy Kent act different, and I totally get that. Yeah. But, yeah, I think his podcast is great. Films to Be Buried With. Highly recommend it. The one joke I think about constantly from season 2 is when he walks in on Keely going to town. He like wants to see what she's watching, and he goes, I like to watch people fuck in the woods. And she goes, why? He goes, because I could never be that free. I don't know why. It's so fucking funny.
That was good.
And yeah, I think again, the show's not as good as season 1 is, but I don't necessarily think that's a problem. Yeah, I think, like you said, things get resolved and things change and the show becomes different because they've tied up all the loose ends at the end. So it just has to change, and they have to focus on other things, like, you know,
it's like the second half of Twin Peaks season 2.
Yeah. But not as bad. Like, they have to focus on Ted's toxic positivity. And season 3, what is it about? I don't know yet, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah. Just a little thing. I mean, obviously the show would be totally different if this was different. But how do you feel initially? Obviously it panned out a certain way, about the idea of, like, let's say you're, you know, wrapping up season 1, you're going into season 2. Losing the big bad guy of, like, the boss lady, of her turning around and liking Ted Lasso. Yeah. Because I think that did, to a degree, that's part of the reason why I think season 2 took a little bit of a dip. Just for me personally, because I feel like you lost, like, a little bit of, like tension between two things, in a sense. Like, it becomes much more a story of, like, okay, now we got to get this team in shape. And that's, again, not a bad thing, because it's just, it makes the show just a little bit more wholesome, too. But yeah, I think that's something that did kind of aid season 1.
I always forget about that. Yeah. Because every time she would say something in season 1, like, and also I'm going to fuck over this football team, I would go, oh, right, I forgot you're the bad guy. Yeah. Because she is so, like, a genuine person through a lot of it, and, like, genuinely has very touching moments with Ted.
Yeah.
And then just turns around and goes, and twirls her mustache.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, right. And it just feels out of character.
Yeah.
Which I don't hate. I think I see that. You see that in life all the time.
Yeah.
You see some...
Two-faced.
No, I wouldn't even say two-faced. I would say, like, a good friend of yours or something, or someone you know pretty well goes through something that sucks, and they're like, this is going to be me now, and I'm going to do this thing, this like, mean thing, or this, like, spiteful revenge thing, and it's like, yeah, that's super out of character for you, though.
Yeah.
And it's just weird to see you do that, and that's kind of how that first season felt with her to me, where it's like, this is the first time I'm meeting her, and these are the first things you're telling me about this lady, but this feels out of character for her.
Yeah.
And it comes around to the end where, she comes around and becomes herself, and it's great.
Yeah. I did like the stretch leading up to Nathan going full dark side, where, like, he's doing basically what she did in season 1.
Yeah.
Like, where he's, like, leaking shit to the press and stuff like that. Because I do like, again, that just makes it a different show, like we were talking earlier. But some things that I like that I feel like the show, some of my favorite moments in the show or whatever are when, like, good guy Ted has to actually, like, be put in a situation where someone is, like explicitly being malicious. You know what I mean? Like, not one of those things where, like, oh, you kind of slighted. Yeah. Like, hey, champ, you weren't really thinking about Roy's feelings. Or that kind of, like, when someone is just like, no, I don't fucking like you to the point that I'm going to do a bad thing to you, like a bad thing to you. Because, again, I like touching on, sometimes, like, I don't know, Ted is an interesting character because he's got, like, a little bit of an anger problem. And there's also the toxic positivity thing. But then also, like, in those moments, there's a little bit of a lack of assertiveness sometimes, and a little of, like, lack of, like, self-respect that goes hand in hand with being nice. But then there is also that anger thing there.
Yeah, like when he has that conversation with Beard at the bar, and Beard, like, yells at him, like, well, winning's not everything. He's like, God damn it, it is. Yeah. We're not playing with kids anymore. Like, I like all that stuff. Yeah. Something that they kind of just abandon, and maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but I thought for sure Ted was going to have a drinking problem. Yeah. Because they are constantly showing him finishing a drink. Yeah. Just all the time. Yeah. And it doesn't really go. I mean, hell, it might.
Hey, whatever, man. You have a drink if that's what you need.
It might come to fruition in season 3, but it just, that was very strange. Yeah. That it never went anywhere. But also, maybe you don't need that. Maybe that's not something we need in the show. Yeah. Nathan, though, in general, is a lot like, we'll get to it, but Sally and Barry for me. Yeah. Where I just don't get it. Okay. There's just something about this character that I just can't 100% wrap my head around. Yeah. Where I'm kind of like, I don't know how the show wants me to feel about you. Yeah. And I don't know how I feel about you. Yeah. And I don't know why I have these incomplete feelings about you.
Real quick, I want to wrap up my Nathan corner by just saying I wish they would have left it at Nathan, like, is just a bad guy who wants glory. I don't know why they had him go off on this tangent about how, like, I was a golden child and then you just abandoned me. That didn't really do much for me personally. I liked it more with, like, him just being, like, just a, kind of just like a shitty person, like kind of that thing where no, I actually don't have an example. I just liked it more when it was just kind of like, I'm just a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
it is the conclusion to Ted's toxic positivity thing. Yeah. Of exactly what Nathan was saying is the thing where you meet someone and they make you feel really good and they make you feel like a complete person, and then, at some point the two of you become peers, and that evens out. And it's like, oh man, you were love bombing me so much, and now that that's gone, I feel like a piece of shit. Like, I don't, for some reason, I've done something to slight you, and that's not what happened. Yeah. But it's just like this person doesn't realize the energy that they're putting out at whatever point in time, which leads Nathan to feel shitty about himself, which sucks. But also at the same time, Nathan is a shitty little guy who wants a lot of attention and love, and so overall, I like Ted Lasso quite a bit.
I like it. I think it's just You know, not in a dickish way. I think it can just have like weaker spots.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I'd give it like a solid B+. I like this show.
It's got its weaker spots, but as soon as like I'm getting a little tired.
Yeah.
Like
it's a comfort show for you?
And like I said, a little tired.
Yeah.
Like I'm never like, ugh, God, the show is dragging, but I'm like, okay, it's time to maybe pick it up a little bit. It does. It immediately like hits me with something where I'm like, fuck, that's really good.
Yeah.
But
and also, I always got to give props. I mean, we've been saying it since we talked about Good Will Hunting, and probably our top 100 list ever. You know, I also I got to give props to a show that's just like, hey, how about a guy who addresses his problems and goes to therapy? It is a very mental health positive show, I feel like, and I always got to give props to that, as opposed to shows like the next one we talk about where guys use guns to go kaboom.
We'll get to that in a second.
But I like Barry more.
I'm gonna give. That wasn't a bit.
Spoilers: Barry is gonna get an A+. I really like Barry, but anyways, go ahead.
Chris, I think I almost just had a stroke there. I can't. That was really concerning. I'm gonna give Ted Lasso an A.
Okay, solid A. It deserves
Just a solid A.
Yeah, good show.
Now,
yes,
Barry. Chris?
Yes.
Hot take?
Hot take.
Barry's my favorite show.
Yeah, Barry's a great show.
Barry's a great maybe
show. I couldn't consider it my favorite show because it's not a show I can like. It's so fucking stressful. I wasn't even this stressed out by Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I feel like this is am I crazy for saying that? Like this show stresses me.
It's very stressful.
Even just like little shit. Like even when I'm watching Christabel and his like father-in-law basically tell him like, I know you're fucking someone else and not my daughter. I'm just sitting there like, oh, Christabel.
Dude, when he's like, hey, we don't need to raid that stash house. And he goes, you know what? You're right. We tried LA and it didn't work. Cut our losses, pack up and go home. What am I going to tell the guys? So they were so excited. And he goes, I'll take them out to lunch first. And he goes, you're right. I'll take them out to lunch, treat them to a good time. And in the parking lot, I'll say, hey, guys, sorry, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping me see this clearly. It's like, oh God, he knows. Oh, it's like, oh yeah. The show's very stressful.
Yeah. But that's so funny. Like when he finds his text with NoHo Hank, the boss, whatever, and he's like, get out of the safe house. The Bolivians are coming to raid or whatever. I hope you're safe. Okay, I'm safe now. Like we should meet in about an hour or whatever. And he's like, make it 2. The guys want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and they want to try all the sauces.
Yeah, favorite thing about this.
Like when they're on the fucking top of the tour bus, the Chechens, they're like, "Oh, it's Jimmy Kimmel."
Yeah,
and he's like trying to like text his boyfriend, like with his body turned to him, so they don't see him texting his boyfriend.
It's my favorite thing about the show is that it's a dramedy, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
and like. I would never describe it ever as like they just mesh the two so well.
Yeah, it oscillates wildly, but they mesh it so well.
And it just works somehow. Like jokes are butted up right against the most stressful thing you've ever seen. And
going back
so
to
funny.
Oscillating wildly, that's how I'm describing it. Anyways,
like when it's been strange because I'm all up to date. I watched it I don't know, like 9 months ago. I watched the first 3 seasons, and now as you're catching up, you just finished season 3 moments ago. Listening to you talk about how stressed the show makes you, I'm like, oh yeah, right. The show's super stressful because I haven't seen it for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
That's something I like about season 3 that you know now that you've gotten through it. What we're saying about the butting the two things up right next to each other.
Yeah.
They do that to such an extent that the funny, very funny thing that happens is also extremely stressful.
Yeah.
Like Barry telling Sally all the like fucked up things he can do to that executive to like make her brain eat itself.
Yeah, break in and watch her sleep, maybe send a picture of her sleeping, you know? Or
just to be like, hey, that's not cool what you did to Sally.
Yeah.
Or like, switch your dog out with a slightly different dog.
Yeah.
Funniest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Also, the most concerning conversation I've ever seen 2 people in the TV show
when
have.
she's like, get the fuck out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, top down, crazy premise that I think is parallel to exactly what you're talking about with the whole like oscillating wildly between like the fucking heights of stress to like the funniest thing I've ever heard of. About a hitman who stumbles into an acting class on one of his jobs and decides that he's in love with that and he doesn't want to be a hitman anymore, but then everybody else in his life is still forcing him to be a hitman. It's a crazy premise.
Yeah.
It's a crazy elevator pitch. What's that?
Oh, go on.
And it's just it's something that like I remember seeing like a couple of New York Times articles recently or whatever about like NoHo Hank, but also about season 4. And I didn't read them obviously because I'm not watching season 4 because I hadn't finished season 3 at the time. But like one of the things that was in one of the blurbs was like exactly that thing, like about like how like in a sense like it's just like yeah, like the creators of the show are like, hey, come on, take this crazy leap of logic for a second,
yeah.
And then from there somehow it just works. Like it's something I was just talking about with my dad on the phone, because he was talking about how like the stakes are so high and there's so much tension, but then also it does exist in like this weird like slightly post like Atlanta-esque like surreally world where like there's an app to detonate a bomb where you can call customer service and you can just the username is Berkman Goes Boom, capital B, capital G, capital B.
All the S's are dollar signs.
Yeah. Or like allow access to photos, of course. Allowed to use a location, always. Like as if none of that stuff would come back to bite him in the ass.
I wouldn't let iTunes
use my
notification. I love this show. And I really liked Dexter when it came out. I loved Breaking Bad while it was happening. And I will, I'm a straight white man. I was in my teen years, early 20s when I was watching those shows when they were coming out. And so just like every other guy who looks like me, I was like, God, Walter White's so cool.
Yeah.
Look at him just getting it. God, Dexter's so cool. Look at him just getting it.
Yeah.
Just this
I will say, and I do mean it as I guess I want to say that I'm not saying it to brag, but I think there's a little bit of bragging. I will say from the rip, I was always like, I like Jesse Pinkman more. Walter White stresses me out. And I feel like that. Jesse's really getting fucked here, and I want to see him get away. It's almost like it's almost like Joplin. I want to see Sally get away from Adam. What's his name? Sam. Yeah. Anyways.
And yeah, like it sucks that I watched Breaking Bad that way the first time, and that I was somebody who thought that way the first time I saw it. Like I was one of those people the first time I watched it that I was like, God, fucking Skyler, just get out of his fucking way. Just let him do his job. Yeah. It sucks, but also it's cool because I did kind of get to watch Breaking Bad twice.
Yeah.
Like watching it again, like as an adult, I was like, the last time I watched Breaking Bad, I was like, I think my favorite character is probably Skyler White. Yeah. Like just like I got just those scenes where she sends the kids to go live with Hank and Marie, and Walter's like, okay, and then what, Skylar? Like he's like out logicking her. Yeah. He's like, and then what? What are you gonna do from there? And she's like, I don't know, Walter. I'm just gonna keep doing whatever I can until you stop. It's like, oh fuck yeah. This is such a real human character.
Exactly.
And that's the not big, being like, because like the first time I watched it, I wanted it to be like, why aren't you just like drug kingpinning with him?
Yeah.
Because I didn't think about it in the sense of real life. Like I wasn't really putting together that Walter White is a cartoon villain. Yeah. And he is fucking people over like this, and a real person is like, and him being like, just like, I'm so much smarter than you, I'm gonna logic you out of this, and her being like, I don't know. Yeah. There's no way I can work around you like that. I'm just gonna keep doing shit. Yeah. And it's great. And
that's such a powerful moment too, because like I feel like there are a lot of people who are just like, I'm so smart, I outsmarted you, what now? And it's like, no, and what now? That was never the point. Who's smarter? Yeah, that was never the point.
You're still a monster.
Yeah, like just because you out-logicked me, like that. If anything, that's so ancillary to what the problem is. But
it's like, oh great, you've backed me into a corner.
Sure.
What
now?
What is that? Does that
you're smart? Yeah.
You're smart, but you're also
wrong.
A worse person. Yeah.
The worst person ever. Like I try to tell it to people all the time. Like it's I just don't think being smart's the end all be all. There's way better qualities for a human being to have than being smart.
And but like with all these like golden age television shows like this and Mad Men and Sopranos and Breaking Bad, and Dexter, it's like, yeah, they all center around like toxic masculinity, and like Breaking Bad and these shows are about a good man becoming a bad guy.
Yeah.
And what I like so much about Barry is this guy that you start with who is at the end of Breaking Bad trying to become a good guy. And there's no person on this world who can watch Barry and go, I like Barry. I'm on Barry's side. Barry's a good guy. Like,
well, my brother Donald was like, I want to see it end with like him like becoming a better person. I was like, Donald, this is a shark human being. This is a man who was born with no soul. He's never been good. He's never done a good thing. There's nothing good about Barry. There is not a shred of good in Barry.
Yeah, but that's what I like about it is that Barry and Sally are the same to me, because both
the same
of
person.
them are bad people, but also I do kind of believe that they don't want to be bad people, but also they just kind of just can't escape that. Like they just kind of are forever probably going to be bad people.
Yeah. Like I don't think Barry even understands what it means to be a good person. He doesn't even have a grounded understanding of what that even means.
Yeah, I think he does. He just doesn't know how to get there. Like there's that shit he did in Afghanistan where he lost his shit and killed those innocent people. Mm-hmm. And then he got with Fuchs because he's like afraid of that, and he needs. He's always saying he needs direction. He needs someone to point him somewhere. And Fuchs is like, money, money, money. I can get him to kill people for me. Yeah. And it's great to see him in the first couple seasons be like, I'm going to break out of this and I'm going to be a better person. And like when the show starts, I like legitimately, I'm like, yeah, I think Barry's a good guy and Barry's going to get out of this. But like as the show goes on and on, it's like, okay, he went from being told what to do and taking orders from people to taking orders from different people.
Yeah, it's also a tricky thing. So in season 1, obviously, 2 of the most rugged things that happened is him killing Chris. Mm-hmm. Which is one of those things that's so fucking rough. That was one of the crazy rough ones where it was just like mid monologue about how he has to go to the police. Chris realizes, oh shit, I'm sitting next to a literal shark man killing machine, and he's gonna just kill me right now because of everything I just said. And he does. Yeah. That's one of the first moments where you're like, oh shit. Damn, is Barry really this good? Or does he even have the capacity to be this good person?
Well, Go on.
And then he kills Moss, Detective Moss. Mm-hmm. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot today and yesterday. My brother Donald talking about his partner Elena. That's when she tapped. She was like, I cannot watch this show. Yeah. This is fucked. And yeah, if anything, that's way, 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 way more fucked. Because, again, just backed in the corner like a rat. And just this woman, good woman, never done anything wrong, good at her job, is going to bring Barry in, gets murdered. Not only that, but it's Gene Cousineau, his like father figures, the love of his life. Yeah. So not only is he like killing her, but he's also doing this to Gene. And throughout all of season 2, never once is it like, hey man, how you doing? Are you doing all right? Or anything like that. It's always like, oh, Mr. Cousineau, will you help me with these like lines? Like he doesn't. It's done to him. Like I had a problem and I solved it, and it's just gone.
It is, and it isn't, because like it's so fucked. Because when Gene comes in and goes, I'm shutting the class down. I don't want to do this anymore. Barry's like, oh no, you have to keep doing this, because if you don't, I killed your girlfriend for no reason.
Yeah, but also like it's just one of those things where like he wants to like the class he won for him. He doesn't care about anybody else in the class. He doesn't care about Gene Cousineau needing this or like that.
He thinks the class is his way to be a better person.
Yeah, and he thinks acting is his way to being a better person. What else does he do to be a good person besides acting, right?
And like it's what I love about the show, and I guess Barry as a character is he like the thing with Moss when she's got him at gunpoint. I 100% believe him when he's like, we don't have to do this. I really don't want to do this. Yeah. And it doesn't help that he has Bill Hader's face where I'm like, I believe you. Yeah. I believe 100% that Barry doesn't want to do this, or he doesn't want to be doing this, but also he's incredibly selfish. Yeah. So he's going to kill her. Yeah. If he doesn't want to do this, if he wants things to be right, he goes to jail. But, you know, he's a fucked up shark man, like you're saying. Yeah. So he doesn't. Yeah. And it's like,
it's one of those things where like this show is basically Jeffrey Dahmer if Dahmer did a cool thing like kill people with a gun for money. But otherwise, he's basically like any number of serial killer that you can watch be interviewed because they got caught, where they're just like, why did I do it? Why not? You know?
And it's, well, I think Barry, if Barry got caught and they're like, why'd you do it? I don't think Barry would be like, why not, you know?
Yeah.
I think Barry would be like, because people were making me do it, and
Yeah.
I couldn't see a way out.
Well, I mean,
And I
I'm
think
also being, you know, facetious.
Oh, yeah.
Like the people that get caught, they say things like, no, I don't want to tell you. Or they say things like, because they let me. Like, they always have some weird way in their head of just being like, yeah, because why not, is what I'm trying to say. It's like,
Yeah.
like his thing would just be like, well, he's you know who he is?
Who?
He's the Jinx.
He's little Bobby Durst the Jinx.
He's literally Bobby Durst the Jinx. What do the detectives say? They say, I don't think he'd outright ever kill anybody, but you back him into a corner.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I feel about Barry, the way I feel his brain works is the same way I feel about Sally.
Yeah.
And the same way I feel about a lot of arguably bad people.
Yeah.
Sally's super manipulative.
Oh, yeah.
She really doesn't care about
Even
Barry.
before she blows up the way that Barry does to her, to another person.
Uh-huh.
Even him blowing up on her at work, which is one of the hardest things I had to watch on the show.
Oh, yeah.
But also, that's basically how she's treated him for 2 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, you know, people like that in your real life.
Yeah.
Who are manipulative and treat people this way, but never in a million years would Sally be like, and then I'm going to tell Barry this. And he's like, she's not like what you think of a bad person being is like this. Like,
it's never as conscious as
this
like,
evil,
people think it is.
Yeah, this evil person like wringing their hands together.
It's just people not realizing like the disconnect between like. It reminds me of like this is maybe not the most healthy way to frame it, but it reminds me of like the way that I've had like bipolar disorder described to me sometimes, like when people get into like insanely manic and very unhealthy states, because I had a very close friend that was, it one of the side effects kind of a thing is that sometimes you can get into this like Hail Mary place where like you don't think the empathy's gone, you just have a goal and you just hear Hail Marying to get it.
Yeah, that's
like, this was like an individual that was like, trying to like fake a heroin addiction to try to get a girlfriend back or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's so, you know what I mean? But like to him in that state, it was like, and that kind of thing just happens all the time.
It's like when Barry's yelling at her at work. He's like, "You have to do this or I die."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's also like with the Gene Cusinau thing where he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna shoot you in the head," or actually, I could get you a part in a movie and then we'd be even, Steve.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because he's like, oh, what helped me be a better person? What helped me is acting. I got to get you acting. That's going to help you. And like, you see this all the time where Barry, a couple times in the show where Barry, all the time he's like trying to like get out of it, but always like around every other corner, NoHo Hank pulls him in, you have to kill someone for me here, or that cop goes, you have to kill my wife's new boyfriend, and he's like, God, everybody's making me do this shit. But then there are moments like Sally's ex-husband showing up and him going, I'm going to go there and I'm going to kill this guy.
Yeah, or the monastery.
Or the monastery, when he goes there and he kills everybody in that monastery and nobody told him to do that.
Yeah.
Like, he just went there on his own accord. And when season 3 started and you were like, what's wrong with Barry? Why is he like this? I think that's what it is he like did that and realized like, oh fuck, no, this is just me.
Yeah.
And just in season 3 just unravels. Like, cannot keep the two things separate. And he's like,
NoHo Hank gives that little bit of monologue where he's like, I think the problem is you're trying to be two guys. That's just not sustainable.
Yeah. Do you think I'm evil? What? Yeah, you're like the most evil guy. Don't I tell you that enough?
NoHo Hank's so fucking good. Highlight of the show.
Yeah,
Love this guy.
I have these 2 pages written down.
Yeah.
Just about Barry. And just about what I think of Barry's journey, but I'd like to pause from this for a second to just talk about how good NoHo Hank is. NoHo Hank is
good.
The Ted Lasso of this show. He is maybe the best part of it. He is so fucking funny.
Yes, like, I'm looking at a website for a table, but I don't think I'm seeing one that's going to fit my needs. I need one that could hold like 35 kilos of heroin, preferably marble top or maybe something.
So fucking funny.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm not bloodthirsty gang leader. I deserve to be at like hotel clerk or something like that.
I'm optometrist by nature.
Yeah. And honestly, like, yeah, saying things suck balls is like so not funny, but the fucking king of suck balls mountain lion is so fucking funny. Especially just like that whole thing, because Barry's hanging out in his apartment with his girlfriend, and then you can just see Noah and the guy on the roof.
So, it's so just Barry sitting at the computer. You just hear the Barry like looks around, and then another one happens because they're missing him like crazy.
Yeah, but guys suck balls.
The guy who killed all of our friends. Oh, but Barry's a good guy.
Yeah,
just everything with the bomb is so fucking.
Oh,
funny.
the bomb is so fucking funny. We already touched on the fucking.
When they get Barry to agree to take it, he's like, "All right, where is it?" And they open the window, and it's on the other side of the parking lot.
Yeah,
so fucking funny.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Fuchs. I think Fuchs is another great character.
Fuchs is insane.
It's a great character.
So Stephen Root, that actor, so good.
Yeah, I think stacked top to bottom. I think Sally's whoever plays her is amazing actress.
Everybody in the show is amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah. I could take or leave everybody in the acting class. I'm glad they kind of get phased. They get completely phased out by the third season.
But everybody, all the main characters, Sally, Fuchs,
Gene
Cousineau,
Noho Hank.
Yeah.
Even the Chechens are all of them are
so fucking
so
funny.
good.
So funny.
You know what everyone's gonna say about you? They're gonna say you're a pissy pants. No.
But yeah, you can go back to Barry Journey now.
He shoots up the monastery, and that leads him to unravel in season 3 because he's an insane person.
Yeah, he's basically right where he was in the pilot. He's just lazing around playing video games, just like he was when Fuchs called him and told him he got to kill.
Just listening to Metallica and hanging out.
Yeah. This is what I'm about. The fucking collage he makes is going.
Totally forgot about that.
Which is, again, another example of him being a bad person, because, like, what happened? They were like, go make her something, and he made this selfish thing that's all about him. It has nothing to do with her.
Yeah, but also it sucks because she's the exact same way.
Yeah.
And, like, I you know me, I watched a bunch of Barry video essays, and the most insane thing, Chris, there was only one that was done by a woman. Mm-hmm. And her whole thing is that the real villain of this show, the real psychopath, is Sally.
Yeah.
And she's going on about how manipulative she is to Barry and how she doesn't care and this and that. And it just blew my mind that I'm like, oh, this is insane that I'm not hearing this come out of a man's mouth. And, like, because, like, their relationship is, like, one of the realest relationships I've seen on TV before.
Yeah.
Where it's so clear she doesn't care about him and she is just using him. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, it is so clear he is just projecting shit onto her, which is also super unfair.
It's just two people not actually seeing each other.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. It's so hard to watch both of them talk to each other. It sucks. I hate it so much. And the show just gets rougher and rougher and rougher. Sorry the other day when you texted me that the 2 dogs thing was rough. I didn't get that you were doing a pun.
Oh, thanks.
Very funny.
Yeah. It was also just because, like, him saying that and then her being like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Because, like, he really genuinely thinks he's being helpful.
Yeah.
And Sally, her whole thing through season 2 is rough to watch because her dreams are totally coming true and then they just immediately get shattered and she handles it like Barry. Just a fucking literal mirror image of how the first half of season 2 went for Barry is now going for her. And then she murders somebody. To be fair, she was in a situation where he was, gonna murder her, but then she breaks at a certain point and just, like, lets it loose.
Did you poke me in the eye? Fuck.
Oh, dude. That's so rough. Dude, that's just one of a myriad things that are just so fucking rough to watch in this show. I love Fuchs. I also love the fucking big goatee guy. The dummy that's just like, we should get some bitches in a hot tub over here.
Oh, like Taylor.
He's
great.
He is great. Yeah, because there's so many great moments like that where they're just barreling towards the fucking, like, the Bosnians or whatever that are like landing or whatever, and they're just blaring fucking heavy metal music and they just get taken out in
Cowboys
less
from
than
Hell.
3 seconds.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And Barry's they're at Taylor's house and Barry's like trying to, like, get through to him and be like, maybe you could work for Fuchs and this and that. And he's just recreationally watching porn.
Yes.
And he's talking to him. He's like, check out what this girl does to this dude's asshole because he's seen it already.
Yeah.
So
good.
Funny.
Yeah. The show's just full of shit like that.
It's so funny. I was gonna say I love Sally's journey in season 2 is so tough.
Yeah.
So tough to watch. Like everything in season 3 that happens to her losing her show and her calling what's her face a cunt and all that stuff is tough and it's hard to watch. But all of her stuff with her piece that she writes about her ex and her agent, that woman being like, this is real and this is really good and I want to support you in this, and all of that, and like watching that get to a place where it's like she ends with the monologue where she's like, I stay for the apology and all that. All that's great.
Oh yeah, it's so crazy. Like at first I don't like her because she's kind of a dick, and then she's all that happens and I'm like, whoa, I actually really like Sally. Yeah. And then this season 3 thing plays out and I'm like, oh
no, in season 2 she gets the deal for the show because they do it live, and she changes it at the last second.
Oh,
she goes back to what it was before, to where she stands up to him, and then everybody at the end just gathering around her and being like, "That was great. That wasn't some boring self-loathing shit. That was really inspiring." It's like, oh fuck, dude, this sucks. This sucks.
And then, but it's like just an example of like why I think the show was so good is because. Then what happens? She spends season 3 being a pissy pants about how like this isn't honest, and it's like you're not honest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you're not honest.
Ugh. And God damn it, Bill Hader is such a good director. Yeah, I want Barry to be over so bad so that Bill Hader can start directing movies. Chris, I understand and I respect your decision. I'm so upset I can't talk to you about these 3 episodes of season 4 on this show.
I'll watch them soon. Yeah, I hope after we record this.
I know. I hope I can talk to you about it tomorrow because just some shit that he's doing in season 4 is just like I don't even have like a comparison, but just like some shit that you see in a movie and it happens and you go, oh, holy shit. Like no one says anything. It's just like a decision like creative, like visually, that it's like, oh fuck, that was really wow, I've never seen anything like that, and it's so simple. Like there are
I think the show in general is shot very well and looks great.
Oh yeah, but there's like just like the tiniest of spoilers for season 4 for you right here. There are little bits of flashbacks of him meeting Fuchs as a child. And they're done in the way of like him on the beach in these last couple episodes that you just watched, where they're like kind of him like hallucinating, you know? And like it'll be like him in his jail cell, and like the camera will pan, and like the other half of the jail cell is a desert. Yeah,
kind of like when he's poisoned and he's walking down the street and then the waves start rolling in and stuff.
And it'll be that, and it's like little him running over to Fuchs and his dad. And they're just far away enough where you can't really see them, but like they're still there, but you can't really like focus in on anything, like just like a memory is. And they're just in the middle of this desert, and they probably didn't meet in a desert, but like just like a memory, the surrounding shit doesn't really matter.
The early seasons, doesn't he have some like hallucinations of like Fuchs standing in the desert, not saying anything, and like slowly like nodding to him or like looking at him or something
like picking him up from the army and stuff like that. Yeah. It's a lot of that stuff. Yeah. Or like, fuck, I don't want to tell you because like
then don't.
I won't. Like, oh gosh, I need you to watch it. And then like it's season 4 is so far tough. Yeah. And when things are funny,
season 3 was tough. I mean, it starts off. In my opinion, some of I was even telling my father, I was like, dude, like even just Fuchs not being around, I feel like that's one of the things I want to touch on too, is like with Fuchs gone, I feel like Barry is just unhinged.
Yeah, because
he's got nobody to ground him or keep him in check or anything like that. And so he's just on this
he's pushed Fuchs away, and Jean is traumatized and just hates him. Yeah. Just hates him. Yeah. And Sally's getting there and he's just unbound and he's unraveling.
But it's interesting because, again, it's another example of why the show is so good, right? Like, you were talking about Barry's journey in the beginning about how, like, he just went from, like, taking orders from one person to taking orders from another, right? And it's like, okay, well, now we're seeing Barry when he doesn't have direction. Well, actually, he keeps saying he needs direction. Mm-hmm. No, he needs someone to tell him what to do. He doesn't need direction. Yeah. He needs someone to tell him what he should do because he's not a human being. He doesn't know. But anyways, there's that one episode that ends with him being like, I love you, Mr. Cousteau.
Can you say it?
Can you say it?
And he says it and he makes him say it again. He's like,
can you say it again?
And I love that they do those shots with those crazy wide lenses.
The right 0.0 or 0.5. But no, and then even before that, like when he's sitting on the couch with his grandson, he's like, you're gonna do that audition with me tomorrow, or else that one.
And that one.
And that one.
Are gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
He what I'm going to say now, I'm getting from one of the video essays I watched earlier. This wasn't an original thought, but I'm like, when I watched it, I was like, oh fuck, that's really, I hadn't thought about that. That's really great. He obviously, he's all these people that he's killing, and like, ugh, God, I have to kill this person now. Or like even all the way back to Janet.
Yeah.
Everybody he's killing that he has an excuse for killing, he wants to kill those people because he's got that inside of him. And like, even though he's like, oh God, I can't believe I have to do this again.
Yeah.
He's kind of just creating excuses for it. And the first person he kills in Afghanistan, when he's that sniper, and what's that guy's name? Albert. Albert's like, I don't know, fucking shoot the guy. Who cares?
Yeah.
And Albert's like, the first person to give him that order to kill somebody. Mm-hmm. In this last episode, when Albert finally gets to him, like the first person to give him that order is like, I'm letting you go.
Yeah.
And this stops now.
Yeah.
And he gets that redemption from that person that started all of this. Like, that's like the perfect thing. Yeah. And also,
and then what does he do?
Fucking Bill Hader.
He goes to go try to kill another
He
guy.
immediately goes from there to go kill Janet's dad.
Yeah.
And also Bill Hader when he's just like on the ground just screaming while Albert, so good.
Yeah.
Plot hole. How does Barry know where Janice Moss's dad lives?
Yeah, I will say one thing about season 4, maybe two things. One, I want to see Barry go to jail. But the other thing is...
Oh, you will?
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's where the show should end. I don't want him to drive into a fucking tornado. I don't want anyone to show up with a gun and kill him. I don't want him to die. You know what I'm saying?
I saved something because I wanted to read you, new segment, the worst take from the Best of Friends. Two fellas who have been on this show before.
Okay.
This is a text I got from Elton. We were talking about the last episode of Barry.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I love this episode and those shots. What a funny episode. I was talking to Evan about the new season, and up until now agreed that this season didn't need to happen because we both liked how season 3 ended. What a fucking garbage thing to say. Both of them. Evan, I'm sorry. Do you think Evan listens to the show? Evan, I'm sorry. Elton, I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Fucking awful take. Awful take.
Yeah.
Oh, I like how... Fucking... Are you kidding me? What a fucking boner of not an ending. Fucking... Oh, my God. If that's where this show ended...
Yeah. It'd be the worst show.
I'd kill myself in front of you, Chris.
Yeah. Because what I do want to see, actually, I was thinking about it, is I think I want to see Barry Berkman on the motherfucking stand. I want to see someone grill the shit out of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to see someone get up there and be like, hey, and what was your... Yeah, you just, Janet was a problem, so you had to get rid of her. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see that character and what, Bill Hader can do as an actor.
Yeah, I don't know how I want. I don't.
No, I don't have an idea of what that looks like. Even I'm saying show it to me. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is I don't have that. I don't have like I want to see this happen. I want to see where this goes. I want to see how so and so deals with this. I'm like I just don't. Yeah. From here, even a couple episodes in, and like how the last episode ended, I'm like. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know where I want this to go.
Like I said, mainly, I don't have a destination in mind. The only thing is I don't want him to get shot or go away. You know what I mean? Like I don't want...
You want him to pay for his crimes.
Yeah, just want him to see him go to jail. Why is that so... That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't want to see someone like... Because I feel like him dying is like... Okay, sue me. I'm an atheist. I don't think there's a heaven or hell. So like... Yeah. Okay, so he's just out. And then I don't want him to like go hang out in a hut in like Central America or something like, or go back to Joplin and,
dude,
like I could see an ending like that where he's just like, and Sally, you're gonna keep this a secret. I'm Tom Sawyer now.
Yeah.
And then she just goes to bed with her eyes open, and it's like series open. That's hokey. But you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want anything like that. Like
I don't want.
You can have all the experimental stuff where the fucking jail cell turns into a desert, but I feel like him having to pay for his crimes. Is the only like worthwhile ending you can have to this show.
Yeah, but how does he pay for his crimes?
He doesn't really, genuinely. I mean, that could be a fun thing you play with. You could actually make that statement, like, "Oh, is it this genuinely like? Does this do any good? Is this really?"
I would say everybody in his life dies. Like Sally, Gene, Fuchs all end up dead by the end of the show, and I think because I do. Feel like Barry does care about those people.
Well, definitely Sally and Kusnow do because they saw him on the beach. He saw them on the beach.
That's right, he did, but he's not clairvoyant. He's just insane.
But that was where he goes after he dies. I really like that scene where he's like, Sally, I saw where I would go after I died. I don't want you to go there too.
Yeah, I think that's like, that's what I'm getting at.
It's a drug hallucination.
That's
he's literally been
biggest
poisoned.
fear, and that's how he would pay for his crimes, is if they end up dead.
Yeah.
Because even though he's an insane shark man who lacks empathy, I think he does legitimately care for these people on a genuine level. You get me? You feel me?
What's that?
I think he does generally care for these people on a human level. Do you?
No.
Really?
No, I don't. Yeah.
Well, maybe not Sally. He's just the projection shit. But I think he genuinely loves Jean, and I think he genuinely loves Fuchs to a degree. And he loves the idea of Sally.
Yeah. It's a tough thing, but I think I don't know, it's just, I think he needs Fuchs, and I think he needs Kusnau.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, they serve a purpose to the point that he feels the closest thing he could possibly feel to love from these people. Mm-hmm. But anyways.
And if those things are gone, that's his punishment. That's the worst things. Yeah. That's as bad as things could get for him, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's about what I've got for Barry for now. I think it's like I said, one of the toughest shows I've ever had to watch. I think it's very tense. I think it's also super impressive. I mean, to achieve those highs as enjoyable while simultaneously being kind of miserable as possible is just such an achievement. It's a really great show.
It's so good.
And so funny at the same time. Great stuff.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Barry gets an A+ from me.
Barry gets an S from me.
Damn, it's going in the S tier.
Forgot we had an S tier.
Yeah, well, you do. I don't have anything in the S tier.
Barry's getting an S tier.
Okay.
The last episode that came out, the episode that came out this week, what is it? Today is, I'm not going to tell you what day it is because this podcast is timeless.
Yeah. But
the last episode of Barry, I watched season 4, episode 3. Again, every episode this season has been tough. Yeah. There have been some jokes here and there that get me that are good. The last minute or two of the last episode, alone in my room, tears streaming down my face. I'm laughing so hard.
Yeah.
And it's still a very serious scene, but like, I can't. I'm. Oh. God, Gray, I need you to watch him tonight.
But yeah, I don't think either of us have any closing remarks.
Thanks for listening to our first TV extravaganza episode. Let us know if you liked it.
Our 2023 TV Blowout.
If you didn't like it, fucking keep it to yourself.
Let's call it the 2023 TV Blowout. Let's rebrand.
2023 TV Blowout Part 1.
Yeah.
Because you're going to finish these shows soon, and we'll do Part 2. And we'll blow it out again.
Yeah. And for now,
we're going to blow me out. We're going to blow you out. We're going to blow everybody out.
It's a blowout, baby. All right. That's that. Mattress Man. If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time,